You've come to the correct place if you want to scare the living daylights out of yourself playing some of the greatest horror games ever. Even if Halloween has passed, it's always a good idea to curl up and play something spooky. There are many incredibly horrifying video games available to test, whether you're trying to lose sleep out of terror of what lurks in the dark or you just want some fear-fueled laughter. Number 10. Resident Evils 1, 2, and 7. Resident Evil and Resident Evil 2 are still considered horror icons today, and the remakes of both titles undoubtedly contributed to immortalizing and highlighting the stunning architecture and never-ending gore they had while still staying true to the original games. One may argue that the first Resident Evil game and its sequel are among the pioneers of the modern survival horror subgenre. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard is the third candidate I feel I must highlight. The sense of relief I experienced after completing Biohazard for the first time is beyond words. After leaving behind the forgettable Resident Evil 5 and 6, Biohazard feels new and is utterly horrifying. Number 9. Series of Silent Hill. Silent Hill and its numerous sequels, a classic created by Keiichiro Toyama, will go down in history as some of the greatest horror games ever. In Silent Hill, physical and psychic horrors are intertwined. Nothing is as it seems, and each player must battle their inner demons in the lonely town. The entire series features terrifying foes that you can only pray don't show up in your dreams. To mention a few famous encounters, there is the gigantic double head from Silent Hill, the recognizable pyramid head and bubble head nurses from Silent Hill 2, and the terrifying Voltiel from Silent Hill 3. If your mind can handle it, the majority of Silent Hill games have amazing replayability as well. You'll eventually find yourself turning into a Silent Hill lore goblin due to the amount of subtext, psychological analysis, and deeply ingrained references in each game at the time. Number 8. Signals. A new horror game called Signals draws its ideas, largely from Silent Hill and Resident Evil, from the classics on this list. So much so that even if the game looks completely different, it nevertheless invokes some of the same emotions as old horror games from the late 1990s and early 2000s. As Elster, whose shuttle has crashed on a distant planet, you awaken with two objectives in mind: locating your spouse and learning more about what's happening. Sure enough, you soon find yourself in cramped hallways full of enemies that sound like sci-fi Silent Hill nurses and are accompanied by industrial sounds that bring to mind Akira Yamaoka's score for the original series. Number 7. Until Dawn. The Dark Pictures anthology, which also includes fantastic horror films like Little Hope, Man of Medan, and House of Ashes, is spiritually related to Until Dawn. Each of these games, including Until Dawn, has a compelling storyline that you can influence by making choices that affect the course of the plot and the individuals you interact with. While the anthology games expand on the Until Dawn formula, the original horror game from 2015 is where it all started. In the interactive, narrative video game Until Dawn, you must try to protect inquisitive teenagers from whatever lurks in the nearby mountains. The teen slasher genre is a trope we're all used to seeing in works like the cult classic horror films Friday the 13th and Halloween. Number 6. Murder House. Puppet Combo, a one-man creative force, developed Murder House as a tribute to the past. Murder House will stick with me even if Puppet Combo has many other horror games that are deserving on this list. You're reminded of VHS horror from the 1980s when a news crew breaks into a serial killer's abandoned home. When it becomes clear that they aren't the only ones there, the crew finds themselves in some difficulty. Will you be able to survive? Murder House is a point-and-click horror adventure that feels immensely gritty and inherently 90s. It was inspired by the low-poly style of the PS1 period, notably games like Silent Hill and Resident Evil. You might even be reminded of Silent Hill 3 by the villain's bunny outfit and use of a hotel. Number 5. Dead by Daylight. There aren't many solid options available for multiplayer horror. However, one of the best multiplayer horror games we've played recently is Dead by Daylight. Although the formula is not new, it has undoubtedly been executed much more skillfully than in the Friday the 13th game adaptation. Asymmetrical horror film Dead by Daylight pairs for survivors against one killer, who is frequently a recognizable character from Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, or more lately, The Ring. to include as many well-known characters as possible. Dead by Daylight frequently include characters from popular horror franchises through licensed partnerships. This adds to the game's enjoyment. Number 4. Phasmophobia. Phasmophobia, a ghost hunting independent game, is another triumph for multiplayer horror, and it continues to receive frequent feature updates. We might even witness it go early one day. To find any ghosts that may be present, you and your team of paranormal investigators must visit a variety of residences and locations, including prison and camping. Your pals, or a random lobby, or nobody, it's up to you, will be on this squad. You'll discover that Phasmophobia is a lot of fun when you're not listening to your terrified pal's spine-chilling screams while you scare yourselves silly. Playing Phasmophobia in virtual reality increases the immersion of the supernatural experience. I'm too frightened to experience Phasmophobia in virtual reality because it's already difficult to stay alive. Number 3. Alien Isolation. The 2014 sci-fi horror movie Alien Isolation is a remake of Ridley Scott's classic 1979 thriller Alien. In the game, you find yourself trapped inside a trading station that is floating in space, and a xenomorph is after you. In addition to trying to stay alive, Amanda's job as Ripley's daughter is to learn what happened to her mother after she disappeared 15 years ago. Alien Isolation did sci-fi horror the only way we know how, and they horrified us when they did. In this covert first-person shooter, you find yourself completely submerged in the alien universe and frequently running and hiding to avoid becoming prey. Number 2. Outlast. Outlast is yet another game that will frequently make you want to flee, hide, and end it all. Outlast adheres to a standard horror paradigm, yet the game's jump scares and dismembered adversaries successfully inspire a great deal of fear. You won't want to play this game by yourself at night. You play the role of investigative journalist Miles Upshur in Outlast. Miles visits the mental institution to investigate after learning from an anonymous source that cruel experiments are taking place at Mount Massive Asylum. Let me tell you, it's not very appealing. Outlast is a wild trip from beginning to end thanks to Red Barrel's distinctive design, as well as its smart camera angles and several bizarre experiments. The first is Amnesia: The Dark Descent. I still remember installing Amnesia: The Dark Descent onto my first personal laptop. Even though the poor laptop was fighting for its life, I was able to finish what I would consider a horror game masterpiece. The legend of the simple game Amnesia: The Dark Descent will last forever. It has another classic beginning in which you awaken in an unfamiliar castle. The game arguably launched the careers of several YouTubers, including one known for their fascination with the Amnesia barrels, and it served as an inspiration for several games and nascent creators. In terms of the game itself, your goal is to try to escape from immediate peril if you want to survive. No matter how well known it is, Amnesia is a terrifying experience that'll leave you hungry, and if that's the case when The Dark Descent is through, there are dozens of unique, community-made stories to discover. Do you want to know what's even better about this pick? Amnesia Collection is now available on Xbox Game Pass. The collection includes The Dark Descent and its Justine DLC, as well as Amnesia: A Machine for Pigs. Amnesia Rebirth is available on the Pass, too. If you liked this video, follow us and you will find many videos that will help you to transform your life. Thanks for watching all the videos. Please subscribe and hit the bell. See you soon.